Adventures in Imperfect Living.
Hey, greetings, folks. My name is Greg Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I'm Jennifer Willits, his wife.
And you know it's an important show if Jennifer made me keep my jacket on after Mass today. And we're going to share some things with you. Some big news. You're going to want to listen to the whole show. It's kind of funny. This show is actually a long time in the making. Yeah. For as simple as it's now going to be, whether you're listening to it or watching it on YouTube, it's still going to look like one of our regular shows. But we had all sorts of ideas, and I just kept procrastinating. And not even procrastinating. I wouldn't even say it was a procrastination that brought it here. It was, okay, so we're just going to cut to the chase. This is our annual fundraising giving campaign episode. So don't wait, just wait. Don't stop listening yet. Just hold on, because it's also kind of a continuation of the state of Rosary Army, state of our own ministry as new media ministry, apostolate, or whatever it is that you want to throw a label on of what it is that we do. But we're in a really interesting place. As a married couple, as a nonprofit apostolate that has been doing work for the kingdom of God since 2003, really 2002 is when we started, but 2003 incorporated as a nonprofit. And all of the ups and downs that we've shared with you ad nauseum over the years on the program, you've heard the stories. You know about the origin of Rosary Army. You know about the goals of Rosary Army. You know the things we've done. But there are a lot of behind-the-scenes things that we don't share with you. And the reality is that we have tried really hard to be excellent stewards of the financial resources that you have provided for this nonprofit that also supports our family so that we can do the work of the nonprofit and focus on all the work, whether it be School of Mary or Rosary Army, all the different things that we do, the podcasting, everything. So we've been having, okay, how do we share all these things and how do we tell you what our goals are for the next year and make it interesting, right? Because it's still supposed to be a podcast and a lot of you listen or watch every week because part of it is that you want to be edified in your faith and part of it is that you want to be entertained a little bit. I've learned that, but we've had a lot of conversations lately with some of you, and I've been hearing that over and over again. And we might share actually some of those conversations, bits and pieces of it on the show. I didn't ask for permission. So I've been having conversations with a lot of our supporters on Zoom. And so I forget that Zoom records automatically. And so I started to realize after I'd had a few of these over the last couple of weeks, I reached out to people that have like financially donated at large amounts or been a part of it for a long period of time or just are prayer warriors for Rosary Army and have shown a level of involvement. So I reached out and I have a calendar. I said, hey, go, if you have time, I'd love to have a chat with you. And they started saying really amazing things about how Rosary Army has impacted their lives and how School of Mary has already impacted their lives. And then I realized that it was actually being recorded and I could actually share some of the audio and video. So I started to ask people, hey, is it okay with me to share this?
Sure.
But there's some of the earlier ones that I want to go back and look, and then I need to send them an email and say, hey, before I just share this without your knowledge, are you okay with me sharing that? So if you see it or hear it on this show, then that means that I should have gotten permission from them by now, or I just know that they'll forgive me if I put it up there.
You're just on the right track in my mind. You're doing something for me right there. You don't realize it. Just watching that, this gives me a lot of faith and trust in God because I know the path you're following, you're doing it the right way. And it just tells me, okay, our faith is real. That's a witness effect of that, okay? So it is powerful. Yeah. And I'm saying that with tears in my eyes again. I think all the things you're doing are great. I'm 100% with you. And you can count on my donation next year or for next year too.
But we started we have a lot, these notepads, and you always have a notepad. And I have my regular journal, which has a bunch of places where I kind of keep my notes. And we started gathering together ideas for this particular episode. How can we make this episode be extra special, fancy, and, so that you're going to want to pay attention to it. And we were going to do this behind the scenes thing. We had this idea here. Hand me the tripod right there. We had this idea that I was going to simultaneously be recording what we're doing kind of off to the side with my phone, and then we were just going to take it and we were going to take you out the door and downstairs and show you, like, in our closet where all of the rosaries are stored, and then in the other closet where all of the shipping material is kept, and then at our kitchen table where Jennifer processes all the rosaries, and we're going to show you sort of like a day in the life of Rosary Army. I had the great idea. Even thought, well, then we'll take them and we'll actually go and drive to the post office and get the requests for the latest batch of rosaries. And we didn't do that either. Instead, we just realized we need to sit down and talk with you and share with you honestly where we're at right now with Rosary Army, and the fact that we try really hard to never ask for funds for this work, for us to be able to continue to do this work, for us to be able to hire the contractors to build out the websites and build out School of Mary, to hire the contractors to help us to be able to edit things and to be able to get things done and to be able to make sure that we're trying to do a bare minimum level of marketing so that people continue to discover Rosary Army. All of these different things that go into the ministry and so much more. And we try to only ask for your help once a year during the Advent season. And it used to be, years ago, we would start on All Saints Day, and we'd go from All Saints Day all the way until the end of the year, and then we just realized we don't want to talk about it that extra month, and so we just concentrated this one month. Last year, we tried to raise $200,000. $200,000 that would help us to be able to continue all of Rosary Army's operations, to be able to build out a whole new website, to hire people to build out an entire learning and community platform called School of Mary with all sorts of classes and other offerings that we could build on in the future. We asked for your help for us to be able to start doing these video versions of the podcast as well as other videos to just basically continue to create resources that help you grow closer to Jesus Christ through his Blessed Mother Mary.
I can't say enough about it. I've enjoyed the School of Mary. I like the whole concept. It's, you go on the website, you know exactly where to click. I thought the introductory session that you gave was very good. And the priest has always talked a lot about Mary, but I've always been like, okay, I don't quite get it. We're supposed to pray to Mary, but aren't we supposed to pray to Jesus? Why would I pray to Mary over Jesus? I just re-listened to your introduction, the seven ways to Jesus, before we had this session, and I think it's something I'm going to listen to again and again because it's so packed full of material, and I get it. I get the reason why we now incorporate Mary into everything. And I think the message she was trying to tell me is that I need to have a closer relationship to Jesus because it was always me doing things myself, and there was Jesus over there who could help me if I wanted to reach out to him. But really what I need to do is center him in front of me. And that message has resonated throughout your podcast and also throughout this website, and getting the same message from church. So I feel like what you guys are doing is pounding home the same message we're getting in the Catholic Church during Sunday services. You're reinforcing it in a way that is more, I wouldn't say more acceptable, but because you're real people, it just, I get it.
Probably about 6 years ago, we bought a thing of twine, and we attempted to make rosaries, and there it sat. And it got moved with us, and there it still sat. And then with the School of Mary, I've had to tell the kids to put the twine down and work on school. Yes, 3 of them.
And they even made holy face chaplets with it too as well. That's the same thing.
Awesome.
So that was like the biggest, I don't know, bonus, positive thing that I have seen thus far. And Greg, if you don't ask, we as supporters, we don't know.
Yep.
So it's nice to know like what that target is, so we can get excited for the campaign as well.
Now, we didn't raise the $200,000 that we needed last year, but amazingly, over the course of Advent and a little bit during Lent, we were able to raise $150,000, which was plenty for us to continue doing the work. But we've been operating all year long at a $50,000 shortfall. So we had hoped to go into this giving campaign asking only for $150,000 this year to continue doing what we're doing and to continue building even more for School of Mary in particular. But unfortunately, we do have that little bit of a debt that we need to make up for from last year. So we're trying to raise the exact same amount, $200,000 this year. Mm-hmm. That allows us to continue with all of our distribution of all twine knotted rosaries. It allows us to continue doing all of the podcast production that we've been doing. And so many of you have, that was really a surprise of a lot of these conversations. I asked people, what's the one thing that if we stop doing something that you would hate it if we stopped doing it? And almost unanimously, they're like, the podcast. Podcast is, I mean, people were saying things like, I'm Catholic because of your podcast. I stay Catholic because of your podcast. I've grown in my faith because of your podcast. My kids are Catholic because of your podcast.
I really like listening to Imperfect Living because it's about real topics. And even when I look and I see, oh, it's over an hour long, and I'm thinking, oh, do I have an hour and a half to really listen to this tonight? I find that I get drawn in and I do listen to it. I take, lessons away.
Well, the podcast it just seems to gain depth as the years go by. And I really appreciate that the authenticity of the people you have, your conversations, your thoughts, your, what's happening in your life. It builds me up.
Okay, before I say anything else, I want to say, Greg, you and Jennifer are great. Really. What you're doing is just wonderful. And I want you to keep doing it. So I have to say that before I said anything else.
Okay.
We've been listening since before Lily was born, actually.
In the beginning, I was listening to you guys back in the Rosary Army days, and I would play it for her. And like I said, she grabbed onto it.
I was Catholic, but I appreciated your family dynamics.
Even though she didn't want to be Catholic at the time, she liked you guys.
I just absorb what you all are saying, and I really like that aspect of it. There's some programs, you can get into where it's so scholastic in nature, so academic in nature, you feel like you have to take notes and you get tested on it and that type of thing. But I really find that the messages that you provide, you just absorb it. It just becomes part of your DNA. And I see the passion that you and Jennifer have for the topic. And I really appreciate that. These are real people, man. These are real people doing real things. So I think that's great.
We hear those kinds of things. So it's like, okay, we can't change that. But people saying, I pray the rosary every day because of Rosary Army. I pray the rosary with you every day, whether it be the downloadable audio rosaries or from our app. And we want to be able to continue building new ways for you to be able to pray the rosary. Now, did we do everything this year that we wanted to? No. But we still need to be able to continue growing and going forward, and that's why we're asking for the $200,000. So rosaryarmy.com/donate. Cutting to the chase right now. If you go ahead and if you're not going to watch or listen to any more of this program between now and the end of 2023, rosaryarmy.com/donate. So I'll kind of pause, let you interject some of your thoughts so far before I kind of continue. But that's where we're going with this right now.
Right. And here's some of the fruits that really it's beautiful to witness. We now have enough evidence to see that students, if you will, I put quotations around students, are excited and are using the resources that we launched on School of Mary, specifically for total consecration to Jesus through Mary. That was a kind of part of the new pivoting, the new shift of one of the focuses of Rosary Army that we felt very strongly about. We're in a new season where we need more consecration to Jesus through Mary in particular. And people are discovering it and are going through the videos that we worked so hard to produce over the summer. And we are receiving notifications all the time from our school that another student has completed something or watched something. Every single day, we are getting notifications. The site is getting used, and you helped to make that a reality.
We have all new instructions for making the rosaries. We have an entire course on making all twine knotted rosaries. I added, after our recent kickoff for the most recent schedule of total consecration preparation, I had a Zoom call and was able to generate an additional 45-minute course about 7 different ways that you can grow closer to Jesus. That's now available as well. The reality is this is also in our house because our home is not just our home, but it is Rosary Army's headquarters. It is School of Mary's headquarters. That we are continually, as soon as we finish one batch of tasks, we're already moving on to the next way that we can serve you. And that really is the downside of that. And I've always joked about this with the podcast. As soon as we record a podcast, I forget what I just recorded. And Kim from church, Kim's going to be watching this. And Kim comes up to me on a regular basis and says, what you talked about this past week on the show. And I'm like, we recorded it 3 weeks ago. I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about because I've already moved on to the next thing that we need to create.
Greg, when you talked about the love you have for Jennifer and the sacrament of your marriage, and it just touched me so deeply. Because I remember you even joked in the middle, you stopped and said, I just forgot that we were videotaping. Because you were talking to Jennifer, you were sharing your heart, and you were being vulnerable about how much you love her and how much that you love the sacrament of marriage and the graces that y'all have received through ups and downs, good times and bad times, and how you want that so much for your children. And it's just such a gift. And I want to thank you for that, because I think more couples need to hear about tapping into that sacramental grace, and that no matter what, God has brought you two together for a reason. And it was just so beautiful, and I just cried. And I've tried to make this video, but I would cry ugly tears, and I didn't want to scare the viewers. I was just so moved by the entire episode, and so I just thank you for sharing that. I thank you for sharing all of your memories and in taking us on the journey, because we do live in an imperfect world, and we have imperfect marriages, and we have imperfect family relations, but ultimately we know that God is in charge if we can just let go and let God lead. So thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, and we're just very blessed, and we'll be praying for you.
And I think that's a grace. I think God has given us both the grace of just keep making content that's going to help people grow closer to Jesus. And so what we create one, and we've kind of seen it's this, and I've talked about this in talks, right? When our job, and I say our, not just Jennifer and mine, but your job as well, as evangelizers in this world, and as Christians wanting to share the faith, our job is not to go out and reap the harvest. We're not going to go out there and collect what is grown necessarily. Our job is to take seed and toss it into the field and hope it hits good ground. But just like Scripture tells us, some seed will fall on good ground and bring up fruit by the thousandfold. For some, it's going to fall on rocky ground, and it might spring up, or it might take a while, or it might get choked out with thorns. But our job is to spread the seed. We can never make the fruit grow. That's God's job. That's what God will do, and God will reap the harvest, but he asks us to throw out the seeds. And so sometimes we forget about the seeds that we've thrown out there because we're already looking for the next field to throw the seeds onto. We had high-level goals for 2023. And one of the goals for 2023 that we wanted to hit was to have just a bare minimum. I don't know why I wrote this down. We knew that we wanted to launch School of Mary, and I hoped by the end of 2023 that we would have at least 125 students sign up. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. And so that was the goal, that we would have 125 students signed up and going through at least some level of the courses. I just checked it just this moment. We have 530 students.
Which is amazing.
We just launched School of Mary in August. And so here it is in November. So we'll say August, September, October, November. So in 3 months, we have over 500 students have signed up for School of Mary because it's completely free, because we're making all of these resources free. We want these resources to be available to whoever needs them. That's why we need your help to make these items free. We could have chosen to pay for School of Mary and make it be a paid offering, and that's how we would support all of the work that we're doing. We deliberately chose not to do that. We instead are asking for your help. So you hear about Pay It Forward. if you have the ability to pay it forward and cover the tuition for someone else, however much you think the tuition should be, well, that's what you can donate to Rosary Army this year.
I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, and one of the guys asked me if I would do like a rosary making thing. And, you guys have information on your website. And I don't know if it's you, Greg, that has the video on making rosaries.
I was a lot younger in the original video, but we've updated it since then. In just like the last 3 months, we've updated it.
Okay. Well, that's great. And you have a caution there, this is addictive. And I have an addictive personality. And so at any rate, I really have enjoyed getting into that. And we ended up having 2 or 3 classes for the parish to, show them how to make rosaries. And then I got one of the guys in my Exodus 90 group, he got involved doing it. And another guy in the group, his daughter is doing it now. Yeah, I've probably made, maybe about, 50 or 60 of them over the last year and a half. But it's great, and they're super sturdy, as you well know.
The consecration was just, it was so good. And I've done, different, the Louis de Montfort and Father Gately and one other one. And it was to have you guys read it, be able to pray along with you, and then your commentary afterwards, and how easy the platform is. I'm so grateful for that.
Honestly, I guess what the biggest impression that was made upon me over the email notifications was the majority of them were simply alerting me of which course was getting the most traction. And I think that I just tend to see the ones from total, the preparation to prepare for consecration are by far a very popular course at the School of Mary.
And I would agree with that.
Well, thank you for agreeing with me. That's awesome when we can agree. I'm not saying that the other courses don't exist. I'm just not getting notifications about them. But we are seeing the activity. We're seeing the fruits of the labor of a lot of people. This is not just something Greg and I have done alone. We couldn't have done it without the help of that developer team. And we are still needing a lot of their help to finish out our contract with them. But the main thing that we just want you to do is to remember Rosary Army, please, not to forget us. We are greatly affirmed when we hear that you guys are praying for the success of this ministry. We want Rosary Army to stay and to always be available for when that person is in the middle of the night, they can't sleep and they need help and they're looking for something about a rosary, and then they're surfing the internet at 2 a.m. on the other side of the world, and then they find Rosary Army. We want that. We always want Rosary Army to stay and be visible and to be found by these people who just need help from our Lord and our Blessed Mother. And so it is an honor that we get to be able to do the work that we do. We love working this hard and sacrificing and trying to nurture this ministry so that it stays available, but we can't do it without you. We've got to raise the $200,000 so that we can have another strong year of visibility and growth.
And I think that it can be said that that you can trust us based on the work that we've done. I had an interesting conversation with someone the other day, and again, we've been trying to do this podcast and record this podcast for a week and kept pushing it off. And the evil one really has been showing up and doing overtime this past week in our house and trying to discourage us. Why do you think that this work that you're doing needs to keep happening? Why is it that you think that you're the one to do it? Why do you think that you should try to raise up as much money as you're trying to do? Why are you doing all these things? And these are all the lies that the evil one is saying. And someone said to me the other day, he said, remember, it's don't take this as an affirmation or a rejection of you personally. Mm-hmm. Whether you raise the money or not is no affirmation or rejection on Greg Willits or Jennifer Willits. What it is an affirmation or rejection of whether or not someone wants to support the work of bringing people closer to Jesus through Mary's Rosary, of bringing people closer to Jesus through total consecration to Mary. Of all these different things, what we are doing, we are Rosary Army. You are part of Rosary Army. You are part of School of Mary. You have this role to play in bringing people to Jesus through Mary, and your support has made that possible. If you donated last year, you can see already the fruit that God has brought forth in the completion of the website, in those 500 plus students. 500 people are working on total consecration. That's because of your support and donation. That is amazing. And we've barely even begun. We've barely begun to market it. We've barely begun to advertise. I haven't run a single ad about School of Mary. Now, we had someone helping us with Google ads. Maybe something went up there. But we haven't done anything on Catholic AdNet, where you go on to New Advent or any other Catholic website and see School of Mary. We've had a couple of supporters have asked about running ads in their local bulletins. So thank you to those of you who have done that. And so that's happening. And so we've had other people show up, but we haven't actually actively begun even marketing this thing yet. So imagine what your donations can do to help us to continue doing this in the next year, to reach out even more people. Imagine how many more hundreds, if not thousands of people could sign up for School of Mary in the next year and go through total consecration to Jesus through Mary, according to St. Louis Marie de Montfort. It's a pretty amazing blessing for us to be able to do this. So I don't want, this show we talked about, do we do a super short show and just share with you, we need your support right now? I don't want to just keep saying it over and over again. Give.
However, we were reminded today at Mass that things that are important must be repeated, which is why the fundraiser has to be repeated annually, because it is important. We have to tell you what we need, because we can't assume that you ever know what we need. And I know a lot of times we appreciate knowing, like I appreciate knowing when someone is needing to raise money for things. So then I can consider, okay, what can I do? What can I sacrifice this year? How much can I give this organization or this cause? And there's a lot of wonderful apostolates all needing your attention and your help. And we just pray that if you feel called, that you will be able to offer up some donation, whether prayers or monetary, for Rosary Army's success, so that we can remain another year in operation.
One couple that we talked to, Mindy and Phil, they've been longtime supporters of the ministry. Mindy specifically said, if you don't tell us what you need, then we don't know, to reiterate what you were just saying. And along those lines, so right now, as we're recording this, it is November 26th. I'm going to release this as soon as I edit it, either today or tomorrow. And then we're officially kicking off the giving campaign with this episode. What we need is the fact that if we don't raise this money, we have no more operating capital a month from now. We don't have Rosary Army's financial needs met a month from now. We only ask once a year for now. That may have to change if we don't raise the money, but we try to only ask at the beginning, or at the beginning of the liturgical year during Advent, for whatever we need for the rest of the year. We need this funds to continue operating, not just at the status quo, but to begin to grow even more from what the foundation that has been laid down over this past year. So could we operate off of less than 200,000? Yeah, absolutely, we could. We could operate at much less, but that 200,000 will allow us to be able to continue the work of School of Mary and not let that work that has begun to stagnate. It will allow us to reach even more people through marketing efforts and continued development of new programs. We already have several new courses that we're in the preliminary stages of creating with other content creators that we plan on bringing to Atlanta, to our studio here, to be able to produce this in-house content and to be able to do that relatively inexpensively. But that doesn't mean completely free. It still will cost several thousands of dollars for us just to be able to create those productions for you to take advantage of completely free. So lots of things, and I could give you the itemized list of all the things that we plan to do, but hopefully, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. The fruit, you shall know them by the fruit. hopefully you've seen fruit in your own life. If you have, could you support us? Could you help us to go another year? If we can reach that $200,000 during Advent, miraculously, somehow. You know, a year ago when we launched that giving campaign trying to raise that $200,000, we already had a very, very generous donor offer a $50,000 matching grant. Unfortunately, we haven't had a donor step up of that level yet this year. So we are beginning this giving campaign at absolute ground zero, $0 raised as of this moment. So you can help us to very quickly build up the funds that we need for the next year's operation. And if we can do it well, then maybe we even have a little bit to start the year after that. That's kind of where we want to start going. We don't want to end a year with nothing left in the bank account and the fear that what's going to happen a month from now. We don't want to operate off of that anymore, but we'll continue doing it that way as long as Jesus and Mary want us to, because they definitely have helped us. I'll say this year, listen, this year, my love of our Blessed Mother has grown more in a single year than it has in any other year before. Maybe except for maybe at the very beginning of Rosary Army. I feel like here it is. It seems kind of neat that this is our 20th year that we're finishing up, going into our 21st year, or we'll hit 21 years in March. I would say that the first year and the 20th year, I just have a greater love of our Blessed Mother than ever before. Learned so much. Part of it was by developing the content for School of Mary. And we want to be able to share that knowledge with you. But seeing all of the fruit of this past year has really been a confidence boost. You know, even though the evil one was showing up last week, and making me procrastinate doing the show and make me think, oh, see, you know, no one's going to just sit and listen to you or watch this podcast unless you do something fancy. All those lies. I just look back at this past year and see how active Mary has been in our lives and the lives of so many other people. We really don't have anything to worry about. So even if we don't reach the goal, I gotta believe that she's got us right now.
Well, and we were the recipient of a lot of generosity from Our Lady of Lourdes in particular. I mean, so we know our mother is generous to her children, and all we have to do is say yes to her. That's all we're doing. We're just saying yes to Mary. This is not about Greg and Jennifer. This is all about Rosary Army and keeping this ministry going, not for us, but for you. I mean, yes, we benefit because we also pray our rosary every day, and we try to learn more about how to be a happy slave for her to use in her vineyard so that we can just spread that devotion of Jesus around the world through her Immaculate Heart. We love Rosary Army. And we know that many of you also have a soft spot in your heart for this ministry. And we thank you so much for supporting us for as long as you have. I mean, we have some donors that have been donating for over 15 years without fail, without stopping. I mean, what does that tell you? I mean, like, there's something here. And it's not Greg and Jennifer. It's Mary. It's all for her. And we are just grateful beyond all measure that we get to do this work for as long as we live. We are in it unto death.
So we ask you, if you will please support Mary's Rosary Army. Will you please support Mary's School of Mary so that we can continue doing this work that not only points people to her, but through her, most importantly, to her Son, Jesus Christ. It's been our goal from the very beginning. It will always be our goal to bring people to Jesus Christ through his mom. That's all we got for you, and we hope you'll go over to rosaryarmy.com/donate and give right now. We'll talk to you again in a few days, folks. God bless you for being here. Pray your rosary every single day.
And do whatever it takes to be holy.
Talk to you soon.